further ado, the first thing I want to talk about is what I like to call the 3 E's, which basically is the 3 key components on building your social platform as in any type of creative, whatever your niche is, whether it's photography or fitness or anything of that nature. The 3 E's is what you want to really hone in on. So people go on social media for one of 3 reasons. One is either to be educated, to feel an emotion, or to be entertained. So those 3 things, you have to be very mindful when it comes to the content that you want to create. So if y'all know me as being an educator online and teaching people, beginners or first people getting into the game, on how to utilize their starter kit cameras and whatnot. That's what I chose to do, and there's ways to utilize that to get your brand deals. But also, if you want to stay in the more just creativity world, you can just stay in the entertainment field, which is a combination of using trends or trending audios but with your creativity as well. So if you, let's say, like, you like to make short films or something of that nature, I would try to utilize what sounds are going up, what sounds just, you have to really pay attention to the media, and what you consume is really important in developing your overall work. So I would definitely take some inspiration from whoever inspires you creatively, learn to make it your own way, but also pay attention to what is going up in the media and try to figure out a way to combine that trend with your style. And that's what's really going to help you when you get into that entertainment world. As far as emotion, it's really just about being precise on what you want your audience to feel. If you want them to feel like, let's say, an example of an emotional video is like any type of motivation. Like if you see any videos or posts that's like motivating business mindsets, things like that, that is an emotional piece of content that's inspiring you and making you feel a way to do a certain task. So if you want to implement that into your creative content, I would be very, very precise on what emotion exactly you want to portray with that. I've seen a lot of people kind of make short little films, or they're just talking to the camera, or they just make like a relatable video that like portrays something that they know is going to strike a certain type of person. You should really be more focused on especially when you're trying to get it with clientels as well. I would be more focused on trying to build just 1,000 people. It's not really about building like 10,000, 100,000, a million. Really, you should just focus, and that's only when it comes to branding. Like, try to focus on just getting 1,000 people to really rock with you. But realistically, when you're making your videos, you should just think about you're talking to one individual that has no idea what you're talking about. Like, talk about it as if it's the most broad term, as if someone who's never, in this case, since we're all relatively in the media, photography and all that world, for the most of us, talking in a sense of like someone who's never picked up a camera before is one way to kind of broaden that terminology to where you can actually appeal to people who've just anyone, and not just an experienced photographer, but you can appeal to just the everyday person that just wants to take better pictures. Finding a way to like still hone in on your niche, but still figure out a way to make it broad to the general audience is really important. So those 3 things are going to be key to when it comes to really optimizing, building your audience, and targeting that type of audience that's really going to rock with your stuff. So I definitely want y'all to, pay attention to all that. Do I have any questions so far just with that? What's up? Finding your niche. Well, for me personally, it was about finding something that I just enjoyed. So for me, like, which I know is like a cliche type of thing, but it's really gonna benefit you in the long run, just because it's gonna be about trial and error, really, and just being open to experiencing things that you may not be so open to doing as of right now. I would just try to look at things from a different angle. For me, when I got into photography, it was just me taking a picture with my phone at the time, and I just enjoyed the feeling that I got when I took a picture that I thought was good. So from then on, I just was just shooting, and then I got a camera, and then once I felt like I wanted to show people, because I've watched countless videos. I still watch countless videos on learning about photography, and like personally, for me at least, when I'm on Instagram or on TikTok or like these platforms that are now like taking over the globe, like they don't really share things that like would really just kind of help you get from A to B, and they'll kind of like dance around topics. So for me, like I just wanted to show something that like was like, this is what I did on how I got it to look like this. And a lot of people are kind of scared about revealing certain things, but in the end, like your mind is your mind. Like no one's gonna be able to replicate that. So as far as finding your niche, I would definitely rely on trial and error and being open to just trying new experiences that you find joy in. And the only way you're gonna do that is by literally just going out and trying that exact thing. There's no other way around it other than doing it like that. Does that kind of answer your question? I started in 2016, like on my phone. If you want to count when I got my camera, it was in late 2018. Yep. Do I got any other questions about that for the 3 E's? Cool. Okay, I mean, anything, I got you, man. I got you.
What are some people that you look up to or learn or study from?
Well, we're standing in the studio of one of them right now, man. When I started shooting here, it really opened my mind up to being just creative, and it gave me a whole different outlook. Me looking at Cam and what he's done for the city, culture-wise, photography-wise, like, it's really, really inspired me. Just walking up in this studio, like, inspired me. I was like, dang, like, I never seen a studio this aesthetic. Like, just little things kind of help inspire me to become a better artist. And since I was shooting with a Canon T6, which I still have, I still love to shoot with. Now, I'll move on to other cameras, but I still will always hold that T6 close to my heart because, yeah, oh, really? Man, that's what I'm saying. You could really do so much with that because it's really just about your own creativity. Some people kind of put too much focus in the equipment that they use, which of course is important depending on the aesthetic that you want to portray. But in the beginning, when you're just trying to create, you can do so much just off the knowledge and the strength of like trying out new things. You're gonna build so much off of that. And then once you go from that to an actual, more expensive quality camera, your work is just gonna go crazy. Like after that, you already have developed the skills that you need to do with what you had. So yeah, Kirk was definitely a huge inspiration when it came to that. And as far as that, really, I looked up to photographers like Gunnar Stahl and Chi Mood and even Youngin with the Canon. They all like inspired me in terms of like whether it was finding my own style or just trying out something that was out of my comfort zone. So those photographers definitely helped me the most. But I think honestly shooting with that T6 is what really got me to use my weaknesses into strengths, because it's a camera that is looked down upon because the quality isn't as up to par to what's going on in the game now. Back then it was film and everything kind of looked a little blurry and grainy, and now it's like real crystal clear, and like these cameras are costing whatever. So now when you compare that camera to those cameras, it's one of those things where it can be discouraging, but realistically, it should just be something that you should take as inspiration and motivation. So you could just, once you get far with that, that if you were to touch the same cameras that they were doing, you're gonna be unstoppable. Like, it's all about your mentality and all about being confident in your art, you know what I mean? Because everyone's gonna have something to say no matter what it is. Anyone else, y'all good? All right. One other thing I want to talk about is what you want to do when considering working with brands. So this goes into like content. Now, Instagram used to be very picture oriented. Now with TikTok and TikTok being its main rival, it's now about, reels really and video content. And that's what brands are actually looking for nowadays is video content. Brands are not spending hundreds of thousands of dollars, millions of dollars on high budget commercials anymore because it doesn't appeal to the general masses as it once did. I mean, a lot of us, I don't know about y'all, but I don't really be watching TV as much unless it's like a subscription type of thing. Like, raise your hands of who watches like regular like TV network? My boy. I know, I feel it, you know what I mean? But see, like when it comes to the majority, you see how my man's right here, like the brands are trying to appeal to the majority of people nowadays, and especially the youth. And the youth is really what runs the world. Like it runs creativity, it runs the next, what they run tomorrow, really. So appealing to the youth is really how you're also going to like kind of be ahead of the curve. And knowing like that, one, keeping in mind that brands are now putting their money towards social media marketing and influencer marketing, as like a lot of people like to call it, is going to really be your strength and knowing your worth and moving into that world. So when it comes to that, for me, I think for anyone that does media, you don't have to be an educator to do this, but implementing the equipment that you use in your videos is going to be really helpful because a lot of brands just love that. It doesn't have to be a step-by-step review video. It could literally just be you creating your work and just showing like your camera or like your lens or whatever, doing a little, something with it, because they'll take that and they'll understand that like you're at least showing what helped you create that product. And that's what brands are really looking for, like you showing and utilizing whatever their products are in your day-to-day workflow. That is what is going to help you land some of those brand deals. Audio is gonna matter. Now for me, it's all also about stimulation of the brain. Psychology is something that runs the world. So with people, especially the way that people have evolved over the years, people have like developed a very short attention span. So even if you're making videos like mine are like a minute or so long type, and because of that, like even with that, I have to do certain things to kind of regain people's attention. So whether that's always talking about a new topic with the video constantly changing and then the audio playing a role, all those things like matter. Instead of just talking on one flow like I am right now, I'll talk about like, I'll say a line, cut it, punch in again, because it just reactivates the mind and like, oh, I'm gonna pay attention again. Kind of like a blink in your brain. So it's just finding ways to kind of recapture people's attention every couple of seconds is also going to help bring what is actually called retention rate, which every platform uses, or every platform relies on retention rate when it comes to marginalizing how successful the video is to that platform. So retention rate is basically how long people stay in tune with your video. So, and also a tip on Instagram, if you're gonna make shorter form content, like that's less than 10 seconds, let's say it's just like the BTS of something that you do and then the result. If it's gonna be something like that, I would try to keep it less than 10 seconds because it'll automatically restart the video. I don't know if you guys notice when you watch a video on Instagram, you watch it through, it'll stop. But sometimes it'll replay. And the only reason it does that is because it's less than 10 seconds. And the reason why that's important is because one, it actually counts as 2 views, not 1. So when that video replays again, it counts as 2 views, even if it's the same account. And that helps with your retention rate and your watch time, which is very important. Now on Instagram, it's more important about if Instagram is gonna push your work out to more of your followers and then the explore page and all that. TikTok is just pretty much a live explore page. Like it's never really just like your followers or your following, I should say. Like it's more just like a live explore page. You're constantly seeing strangers on your stuff, but it still applies in that way too. If you go on to YouTube, you could actually get paid for watch time and your retention rate depending on, the ads that you put in the video and how people are engaging with your video throughout it. So putting your ads in certain points of your video, if it's longer, is gonna be important for YouTube in regards to watch time. But when it comes to just Instagram and TikTok, it's just gonna be valuable in making sure that the algorithm portrays your video as a successful video. It's gonna keep pushing it out more and more and more to more people. First, it starts with your followers. In the first hour, you will actually be able to determine if that video is going to do well or not within the first hour of it posting. Doesn't matter if you have 10,000, 1,400 followers. It does not matter. Like, the first hour of your post, you will be able to know if it's going to float or not. So it's really, Instagram will kind of just determine from that. Before, you were able to post straight to reels. Now you have to post to your feed. Posting to your feed is like posting to your followers. And now, since they're doing it like that, you're definitely going to see within the first hour. Before, and if they bring back posting straight to reels, your video could get like 0 views within like 2 hours, and then like it'll randomly just get like 10,000 views. Like, it could go like that when you were posting straight to reels. But since I guess, I don't know if it's a temporary feature, the algorithm is always changing. So I would definitely look out for things like that. Now, another thing I want to talk about too is the hooks. So the first 10 seconds of your videos are really, really important. It's just like watching a TV show, the first episode, the pilot. Since TV shows are longer, let's say a show is like 30 minutes, within the first 10 minutes of the show, or a movie, for example, in the first 10, 15 minutes of a movie, you're going to be enticed into what the movie is going to be about already. You're going to know the main characters, you're going to know the general storyline and the problem within like the first 15 minutes, 10, 15 minutes of the movie. So relate that to a 1-minute video or a 30-second video. It's going to be like the first 5 to 15 seconds of that video. So what's up?
So what would you say is the most productive way to captivate your audience?
So in me making all the videos I have so far, what I've learned so far is there's 3 types of hooks that you could use, which I actually have right here. There's a negative hook, a targeting hook, and then a broad hook. So a negative hook is something that is kind of like a psychology trick, where it's like people are afraid of messing up. People are afraid of knowing that they're doing something wrong. So if you're able to be like, stop using this, instead do this, that's a negative hook that you could use. Or you could be like, you would have to make it seem like that you know something that they don't know. Even if they already know it, you have to make it seem like they're doing something wrong and that you're showing them the right way to do it. That is one way you can list a hook and make it negative but turn into a positive benefit. A targeting hook is like, well, a lot of y'all have seen me do, or some of y'all who have seen my videos before. Really? And that's literally that. You know what's crazy is like you just being yourself literally makes it unique. Like, it doesn't even matter how like where you drew the inspiration for it. Like, you just doing it on your own is what's making it unique. I can't do it like how you do it. It's just like one of those things where you just being you is already gonna make it you. Like, you don't have to. That's, people are also afraid of that too. We're in a day and age where nothing is like being like fully like original is impossible. Even now in Atlanta, like, the creativity when it comes to like the style of photography out here is really aesthetic, as a lot of people would say. When I shot in like LA, for example, it was a totally different style of photography that was popular out there. Like, out here, it's like, for example, like a lot of us are familiar with like the grainy texture, like yearbook type of photos. That out here was popularized by Youngin, but it wasn't originated from him. It was originated from just film, like just film photography being brought into the studio world. Like, that's really where it all came from. And then when Youngin like popularized it, was shooting with like very culture, influential people, like it became like its own swag out here. And in LA, it was more like high fashion, crystal type of things that you would see in like magazines, ads. That was like popular out there. Most of them have never even really seen that style of photography if it wasn't for like TikTok and like Instagram kind of blowing up those things. But out there, photographers don't really shoot like that. So it's just like, that's one way on how that worked, which was really interesting to me. But a targeting hook, back to that, a targeting hook is basically within the first couple of seconds identifying the exact audience that you're trying to target. So for me, like I would say, my videos are talking about beginner photographers. So I would literally start by saying just that: beginner photographers and anyone learning photography, you should know this. That's something that I would say. You could say something like anyone who's like learning this, anyone who wants to take better pictures, things like that, where it's like you're targeting exactly who you want to see the video right away. Now, that is a great way to do it, but also you are going to narrow your niche down a little bit by doing that, because anyone who isn't trying to learn the mechanics of photography isn't going to watch your video. It won't be like a regular person trying to watch it. And that leads into the last thing, which is a broad hook, which is making a hook that is digestible for everyone, but it gets into the topic that you're really trying to talk about later in the video. So one way I did this, where I did a self-portrait video, and instead of saying beginner photographers, anyone who wants to learn photography, this is how I took these self-portraits. I said I would feel insecure about getting my photos taken. Here's how I took these self-portraits. Like, me starting it like that is something that I feel like a lot of people could relate to. Like, a lot of people could relate to feeling awkward or insecure about how they look like in their photos. So finding a way to kind of broaden your hooks is another way to kind of get a whole group, a different group of people, or different dynamic of people to watch your video and kind of flow with what you're talking about. Do I have any questions with that so far?
What would you say is the most beneficial social media for broadening?
Like what platform?
Yeah, like widening your audience.
TikTok right now.
TikTok.
Yeah, TikTok, just because like TikTok is like you're just seeing strangers. Like, you're seeing people you've never seen before on your For You every single day. Like, people you don't follow, people who have never seen your face, heard your voice, seen your work, are gonna be seeing your work, hearing your voice, and seeing your face. Like,
Post on TikTok, do you just like, you know how when you post a reel you can download it and
mhm.
do that? Do you do that, or do you make a whole nother video for TikTok?
I sometimes it could be both, but realistically, no, I post the same content that I post on TikTok onto Instagram. And what you want to do though is not save it after it's posted, unless you're gonna download the link and use a different website to like download it without the watermark. You do not want to post it with the TikTok watermark. I don't know why, but the algorithm is just not gonna rock with that. Yeah, I would, before you post a video, there's actually a way to where if you go to where all like the settings are, like to like add like text and stuff, there'll be a way to save the video without the watermark, like right then and there, and you'll have it just like that. So yeah, I post the same type of thing, and honestly, that's a good way to test it out too, to see if it's gonna like. Usually, because if a video goes viral on TikTok, it'll go viral on Instagram as well. So it's a good way to kind of test to see how people just respond, how strangers respond before you want to post to like your engaging audience. It's a good way.
What type of content do you think is the most universal? Like BTS, educational stuff? Because I feel like I struggle when I go into a shoot. I take a lot of videos, but afterwards I struggle to know how can I use these videos as content.
That's actually a great question. Now, that goes kind of back into the three E's of the way. I wouldn't say there's actually one that is higher than the other per se. They all have a huge audience waiting to watch your shit. Like, they all have a huge audience waiting to watch all that. So for me, like with the educational world, I found that just because people always want to learn new things. You know, people use TikTok like a search engine now, actually. People just look up stuff like, how do I do this? How do I do that? Blah, blah, blah. Like, so for me, I would personally say that it would be the educational route, but you don't even have to be a professional or a whole professor to teach about what you know and what you've learned on your journey. So a lot of people just want to hear your perspective, you know what I mean? Anyone that just likes your photo would want to see your perspective on how you did it. So it's not, you don't have to like psych yourself out and thinking that like, oh, I don't know enough, when it's like what you've learned leading up to that point is enough to teach someone else. Because some people don't even know anything about nothing. Like, some people have never touched a camera, never done nothing. And that for me is like, I love teaching people in that way. I love, you know, seeing how people react to that, because like I said, you kind of forget especially when you're shooting for a while, like you'll forget that people have literally never touched a camera before. So even if you feel like you need to know so much, what you've learned up to this journey is enough. Like as long as you're authentic in what you're saying and what's helped you, it's always gonna be someone out there that's gonna appreciate that and rock with you because of it for sure.
Do you think long videos can do well? Like,
Yeah, they can, but it's like you're gonna have to pay attention to recapturing that attention span because people's attention span are short. But if you are talking about the only way a long video would work is if one you are talking in it, and or if it's a creative sense of like it's portraying an emotion really, like consistently throughout the video. So for me in educating, it'll be I'll have to like constantly change the clips that are going through the video as I'm explaining whatever I'm talking about. So people have something to constantly look at and their brain is being stimulated as they're just listening to me. And that's something that I like to call FaceTime content, where it's just like you could just be doing other things and people could just listen to you talk. Yeah.
so it's not about what they're watching, it's more like what you're saying.
Yeah, that matters just as much, if not more, honestly. A little bit more matters, just a little bit, but they both matter quite a lot, for sure. I saw you had a question. What's up?
I was just saying, TikTok is actually pushing like 60-second videos.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. See, with TikTok now, they are pushing longer form content because of ad revenue. They want to make more money because of the magnitude and the size of their platform. So they're trying to figure out a way to push longer form content so they can give creators more space to run ads within their platform. So because brands do like longer form content because you're talking more about their product or their program or whatever the case it is. So it's kind of like a win-win situation, but it also for the consumer, not a lot of people like to sit there and watch, long form content because TikTok is also adding like 30-minute videos. They're testing that out right now. And I heard too, like after doing a little bit of research on that, like they're gonna, if they do decide to make 30-minute videos a full-fledged thing on their platform, they're gonna try to put ads in between the videos. I've actually seen that before on one of the videos. I was just scrolling and I saw that happen. Like an ad like popped up in the middle of the video, and I didn't even realize. I was just like, I was watching a video and this ad literally just popped up. Like it was kind of crazy. But yeah, you're right. TikTok is definitely trying to push out longer form content, really because they're all trying to chase YouTube, because YouTube is literally the originator of all this social media stuff, and they make the most money because of their ad revenue. So because of that, you're definitely right on that. And I don't know if Instagram is gonna chase that same wave, but I would not put it past them because, like it's just, because every platform is kind of just leeching off each other. I haven't been on Snapchat for forever. I went on Snapchat, I saw that you could like stories now on Snap. That was kind of crazy for me because I was just like, hold on, bro. Like, I know I haven't been on here for like a couple years, but like, bro, like, you could like stories, you post on all this. And Snapchat is its own world too. People really watch news and stuff like that on Snapchat as well. So it's not just about Instagram and TikTok. They're just the biggest platforms right now. Any other questions? All right. Something else I also want to talk about too is if you're shooting with any type of brand, even if it's just your favorite brands, you could tag them. Tag them actually. Recommend it. I go like, I've done videos. I just tagged the brand. I appreciate you. I've done videos where I've just tagged the brand and I wasn't like trying to get a brand deal. Even when I was making the tutorials, I was not trying to get a brand deal. I'm still making them just for my community. I'm not trying to actively get brand deals. I just implement the equipment that I actually use and I would like to use, I want to test out, and I'm just basically doing the work so anyone who's just curious about the product could try it out and see if it works for them and their workflow and the type of content that they want to make. So I think that's something that a lot of brands just appreciate overall. So once you kind of just do that, people are just going to tune in eventually. And it's really, really about the consistency. It's really easy to get discouraged. I know everyone says consistency, but it's really like the main thing because it could take years for me. Last year was like the revolutionary year for me, and I've been doing this for like almost 8 years. So like that's how it was for me. It's because I just didn't stop. Like you just can't stop because it only takes 1 year. It really only takes 1 year. Some people have been doing this for 15 years, but it just took 1 year to just change their whole life. Sometimes it might take just a month. You never know. It's different. It's different for everybody, you know. But as long as you are consistently doing what you're doing, it'll definitely flow. But that's why it's important to like do something that you genuinely love to do, because it will be easier. It won't feel like work. It won't feel like something that you have to clock in and do. It'll just feel like something you love to do, and you're now sharing that love with anyone else that wants to see it and experience it. Yeah, I do photography full time. It's something that I just it took a while. I've worked a plethora of different jobs, man. Like I've done a plethora of different jobs just to get to the money. You know what I'm saying? And just to keep my business afloat, just because photography does get expensive. Like whether it's just renting equipment, renting studio time, doing whatever. Like sometimes you just need the money, and sometimes you just want to create. Sometimes you just want to create. You don't want to always just be doing just the business aspect of those things. So now I'm at a point where yeah, I definitely do photography full time, and I'm trying to make it to where content creation is gonna be a easy, well not easy, but like I guess a more consistent flow within that as well, and make that a full time thing as well. But it's something that you really gotta find the balance in once you start doing content creation, because it can take away from the creativity side of it, depending on what type of content you try to do. So yeah, but definitely tag your brands. Tag all your brands. You know what I'm saying? They love to see it. Whether it's free promo or paid promo, it doesn't matter. People are also just curious. It's not just about, like I said, it's not just about getting them to see you. People genuinely want to know what you use, what you do, how you do it. People just want to know. So it's not about appealing to the brands. It's about appealing to the people that tune into you. That's what's going to get the brand's attention. You don't got to worry about if the brand sees it. People are going to see it, and people are going to talk about it enough. And the brands they got hundreds of people that are not like the brand's page that are watching those videos, if that makes sense. They have their own personal accounts scrolling through the hashtags and the tags of the brand and seeing what either people like or them themselves like. That's why it's important to just appeal to the person instead of like trying to get the brand to see it. It's a person at the end of it. The brand are people. It's just people looking through what they think is dope. So if you think about it like that, it'll make it a lot easier for you to kind of get to where you're trying to go with that. One thing I want to talk about too is once you get your first brand deal, or you get like when you start kind of doing those things, negotiation is key because a lot of these things, every single company is going to try to downplay you. Their whole thing is to save money. They're going to try to save money with you, 100%. So when it comes to that, like you have to be mindful of your worth. Now, this comes to the influencer marketing side of things. So there's once you start working with brands, there's going to be different ways on how they kind of categorize you, and you kind of have to be aware of that because it will help you when it comes to negotiating your rates, when it comes to compensation for videos, for ads, whatever the case is. So I have a way to kind of like list it out for y'all. So there's about 5 different tiers on how they categorize influencers. There's nano, micro, mid-tier, macro, and mega. So a nano influencer is anywhere between 1,000 to 10,000 followers. A micro influencer is anywhere between 10,000 to 50,000 followers. A mid-tier is 50,000 to 500,000, and a macro is 500,000 to a million, and then a mega is 1 million plus. All of this really does, you being aware of this will be able to help you when it comes to negotiating your rates, because you can then do research on what other influencers are doing into and how they're rating themselves, categorizing themselves when it comes to the compensation, when it comes to talking to these brands. So there's actually a good site that I want y'all to write down. It's called FYMP.VIP. FYMP.VIP. I didn't want to curse on here, but it's called FU Pay Me. That's what it stands for, pretty much. So FU Pay. So wait, FYPM. I'm so sorry. My bad. FYPM.VIP. That's that website. And what that website does is pretty much it allows you to see what other brands are paying other influencers, and it will literally show it's other influencers telling them going on the website anonymously and showing exactly what they got paid for, what they had to do, how many deliverables they had to do, how many followers they have, and all that. And it'll help you negotiate when it comes to these things. So that's a really helpful website. I saw you had a question. What's up? Yeah, for sure. So nano is 1 to 10,000 followers. Macro is 10 to 50,000 followers. Mid tier is 50,000 to 500,000. Macro is 500,000 to 1 million, and mega is 1 million plus. All right. We got any other questions? Oh, my bad. Which part? That other part? Oh, okay. I got you. So nano is 1 to 10,000. Micro is 10 to 50,000. 10 to 50,000. And then mid tier is 50 to 500,000. Yep. And then macro is 500 to 1 million. And then mega is 1 million plus. And all of that definitely is going to matter when it comes to negotiating. Because like I said, they're going to try to save money with you. They're going to lowball you straight up. I've gotten like offers for like with brands that make multi-million dollar corporations that will offer like $200 for like 10 videos. And like, I'm telling you, bro, I'm telling you, like they'll definitely, they will try it and they'll see if you bite. And that's why you really have to be aware of like your own worth as a creative. Like, yeah, for 10 plus videos, but I'm telling you, they will spit out whatever they can to get you to do it. And if you do it, you do it. Like, it's kind of one of those things where, and if you take those offers, that's why my advice is to never take the first offer. See, it's okay to ask, and that's something that's like I was afraid to do, was to ask, like, and be like, would y'all offer this? I was scared to do that because I was like, damn, what if they don't want to work with me no more because I'm asking for too much, you know? Don't be afraid of that. They're going to tell you if they have the budget or not. And it's really good. And if they have it, cool. If they don't, cool. It's your decision to kind of, they're not just going to drop you off of you just asking it. You have every right to ask any question you ask. You have every right to demand whatever you feel like is worth it. They're going to tell you straight up if they have it or not. And then from then on, you decide if you want to take it or not. And from then on, like, I'll also say whenever you do your own research on what category, you know, you are in that world, once you kind of figure out if you use, whether you use that website or you just kind of do Google research of like what's the average cost or whatever, I would still actually range it up a little higher because they're still going to scale you down. So let's say like you're gonna say like $1,000 for a video for like whatever they ask you to do. Like let's say you're the average that you look up, say okay, they averagely charge like $1,000. If that's the case, they're gonna automatically be like, okay, can we pay you like $600 to do that? So it's really important that you say like, instead of saying 1,000, I'll say like 2,000, 3,000, because and that might sound crazy, but sometimes they'll actually go for it, especially if you've done their research on that brand. If you know that brand has the money, like you could just do some easy little research, how big they are, the scale of it, what they do, how many customers they have. All those things are gonna matter because sometimes they'll actually really go for it. Or if they don't go for the exact amount that you said, they'll be like, okay, if you say 3,000, can we meet in the middle like at 2,000, 2,300? Then you're getting more than what you even were gonna get in the beginning, and that's really where you want to get at, because from then on, if you provide them with quality content, they're gonna come back and you can get that same exact. You won't go down from that rate. If they try to offer you down, you'd be like, I've worked with you guys before and y'all paid me this, so can we either meet that same rate or possibly go higher? You know what I'm saying? So it's just one of those things where you should definitely still try to scale up, because they're always gonna try to scale you down. So go high before you go low. After, so first started, my videos first starting to gain traction March of 2023. I posted every single day of that entire month, and then from then on, it was just consistently posting. And my first brand deal was that May, that same year. So May, it took about 2.5 months, 3 months of me just posting consistently, like every single day. Um, if we could actually pull up the graph of that one graph. Yeah. It was the 1 to 18. Yeah, just as I was talking. It was just basically like titles and stuff. You good. Nah, you're all good. So this graph right here is how you could turn one idea into 18. Now I use fitness as just a niche topic, just like an example. But if you wanted to do with photography, for example, you could, whether you want to follow the 3 E's of making one subcategory into entertainment, one emotion, one educational, you could do that. If you just want to do educating, you could do it to where, like, for example, like something I would do is like, if I, since my niche is photography and my main subtopic is education, I would split that education topic into 3 subtopics, which would be like, I would say editing, live videos, meaning like live photo shoots and things of that nature, and then maybe something like studio. So I could do like just studio related content, just editing related content, and then just live photo shoot related content. That's say again? Yeah, sometimes I do. Sometimes I'll just go with the flow. Sometimes I'll just go in with a photo shoot. I'll just record it, and I'm showing what I'm doing, like the setup, the lighting, the settings that I have it. I'm showing the settings on my camera, and I'll just kind of do it like that and show the end result of the photo. I'll try to record every shoot, and if I love the pictures and I feel like people will love the pictures, I'm gonna show how I did it. If I'm like, I might not do. But then again, what I've learned is that you should just post it anyway, because once again, you don't know how many people have actually know how to do what you just did. Some people have never touched a camera before, so it's just like, you don't want to psych yourself out as like it has to be something so extreme, it has to be something so incredibly dope in order for me to post it. You could just post something simple, and there's still going to be a whole millions of people out there that have never done that simple thing that you think is so simple. So that is one way, because once you split it up into those 3 subcategories, you can turn each category into 6 different individual videos. So like right there in that top corner is what you would basically list. Those six video ideas will go for each one of those three. One video idea into 18. So like you can just take like just one niche of yours and turn it into 18 different videos. It takes me like to edit them about, well, I got kind of familiar with it, but it'll still take me about like 2 hours to make it. Maybe like like 2 hours, because I'll have to find the clips. And if it's just like a photo shoot that I shot and I just recorded all the BTS, putting all the clips together, it'll probably take me like, no, yeah, it'll probably still take me around like about an hour and a half to 2 hours, I would say, to edit a video and like do the voiceover. Now, I use CapCut to edit. It's real easy to use, you know what I'm saying? Like everything is there. You can also do so much with that app. And now, like, here's another thing when it comes to stimulating. There's a lot of different ways. So it's the audio, your visuals, but also for me, what's worked is the texts. So text on the screen. These are all things that are gonna keep the brain stimulated. The brain, you're reading something, you're hearing something, and you're watching something all at the same time. So there have three different ways to kind of recapture that person's attention, whether they're doing something else, just listening to you talk, or they're live watching the video and seeing all three of these things that act on action. And the text. So pretty much, if you're talking in the video, I would definitely add subtitles to what you're saying. Yeah, it's gonna help. And there's different styles of how you could do that too. You could go, something that worked for me is like the first, if I have like an introduction, like my hook, I'll make my hook like pretty big. Yeah, just kind of just like to kind of just be in your face, just to stimulate your brain, kind of just be in your face like boom, whether they read it or not. It's just like they're looking at it and kind of just triggers something in their brain to kind of keep watching whatever just came up. And then I'll just go like small with like what I'm actually saying. And then like if you want to make it detailed and like highlight the main things, like basically go in and like kind of change the color of it. If you want to go like that, you can. I know with CapCut you could do like automatic subtitles. Like you could just kind of like go in there and it would just automatically just create subtitles for whatever you're saying, your voiceover. So you could do it like that too. I've seen that work as well. So, and it's a more efficient way to do that as well. Because before, I would just go in, generate the subtitles, and go in and change the font, and then like do it like that. But the automatic subtitles thing too, it definitely works. It's definitely something that saves time, and that's an important thing when it comes to this stuff. Just because maximizing your time is always going to be really, really important when it comes to creating content and just life. Like when it comes to just life and knowing when to do all those things is important. And also pay attention. I'll do some research too, whether on your own account, if you have a business or creator account, you're able to see the insights of your followers and like the pay in like their posts and all that. If you have that available, pay attention to when your followers are most active. It'll show you. And always post around those times. Now, if you just want a universal scale around, at least on TikTok, every day it varies, but overall posting overnight does work better than other times. As far as what I've had, all my experiences, me posting around like 11 p.m., 12 a.m., like, and just kind of just letting it flow overnight usually tends to do better for me than me posting in the afternoon. Yeah, it's kind of always worked like that. I would try it out. I would definitely try it because I don't know, it just seems that way. What's up?
My friends, they say like if you post like, because when you post, you're not supposed to go in the app for a certain amount of time or something.
Yeah, you should hop off the app. I don't know why that is. I couldn't tell you exactly why that works, but that it does work for some reason. I don't know. Yeah, I would say yeah for TikTok especially too.
Yeah, so like when I used to post like my podcast clips, I would post it, go to sleep, wake up to like 300K on the video.
Mhm.
I just kept doing that.
Mhm.
And I found out like when I tried to post like later times in the day, unless the video was just that good to like blow up,
Yeah.
never for it.
Yeah, that's actually really interesting. But that's true. You should not be on the platform. Close it out completely. You know what I mean? Because yeah, I don't know. Once again, I'm not sure exactly why the algorithm responds to that. The algorithm is really weird. It will just change. You really just have to really experiment, and you have to really see what works for you because sometimes won't work for you that works for other creators. Like it's all depending on your platform, your engagement, the algorithm, the type of videos you're posting, the topics, the hashtags. And hashtags aren't gonna get you views. Hashtag is just for the algorithm to identify what type of videos you're making. So like I remember way back when hashtags were really being used for real, like on some like everyday type stuff. I mean, I still use hashtags, but like when you use them, people used to make it seem like using hashtags was gonna blow up your video, but in reality, it's just for the algorithm to easily identify and categorize what type of video that is, so it can like bring it out to the people that are actively searching similar topics, keywords. So, and that actually brings me to something I want to talk about, which is called SEO, which is search engine optimization. And with video, especially with TikTok, this really works more with TikTok. What I would do is I would go on TikTok and I would say I would type in whatever niche that you are. So let's say like for example, like when I would make videos on Canon T6, I would look up Canon T6 and I would scroll down to where you see related, I think it says related searches. And it will show like all the people what people are typically searching within that category. I would take all of that, literally go to your notes, type out everything that they're searching, put it in a paragraph before you post. Before you post on TikTok, take that paragraph, copy and paste it on the video, make it real small, move it off to the side, and then post it because it's gonna all those key words that you're using is now gonna be in your video, even though it's not showing at all in the video.
Wait, so you should use keywords in the video, actually
Like say it.
Yeah. Yeah, no. I mean, you could say it too. That'll, you could say it too. But what I was saying is like when you search up whatever niche, so like for example, for me, like I make videos surrounded by my T6. So if you're gonna make videos about that, for example, I will look up Canon T6, maybe Canon T6 pictures, Canon photography tips, whatever. Like scroll down a little bit on your TikTok, you'll see where it says related searches, and what you want to do is look at all those related searches, go to your notes or something, type out all those titles that you see people searching up into just like a little paragraph. Before you post your videos, take that paragraph, copy and paste it, put it on the actual video like as a text, make it real small, and just move it off to the side, and then your video is now going to have a better chance of showing up in all those keywords that you just typed in that people are searching. So now, you say what?
How does the app know it's on the video if it's
Yeah, you put it in the video. You're just making it not seen to the viewer. So you can still move it off to the side and it won't delete it.
but it like
It'll still be there, yeah. Cause it doesn't read what you say. It just kind of just registers what's a part of the video. So technically, even though it's like off to the side, since it's still in the video and you didn't delete it, it still registers as it being a part of the video. You don't have to say it, no. Yeah. Yeah, it's the same concept. Yeah, just like when you add music and you just kind of it's not showing the song, it's the same concept. It's still playing the music. The algorithm still channels it as that. Yeah, it's interesting. It's like when it comes to the search engine optimization, you could do quite a lot with that. It's a real cheat code, quote unquote. What's up? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I personally, I've talked to a lot of different influencers about media kits. I would definitely recommend having one when it comes to reaching out to brands. Some brands will ask you. Me personally, out of every brand I've worked with, they have never asked me for a media kit. A media kit is pretty much just like a collage or like just like a visual diagram of you, your followers, your status, like in terms of like how many followers you have, like your engagement percentage, like how much your rate is. It's pretty much just like a menu of like yeah, like a portfolio type of thing for your content creation. Like it's something that you would just show to the brand like this is who I am, this is my followers, this is my engagement, this is my rate. It's kind of just like as if you were to send like your rates to a client, like if you have like a little menu for the services that you do is the same thing just with making videos. So I would still recommend making one, just because you don't know if a brand's gonna ask you or not. But it's not something that like every single brand expects from you or like that is like I guess needed, but it's something that you should still have just in case, just so you have it on deck and just be like, well, here you go. And it's really helpful if you yourself are going to be reaching out to companies because you can do that. I know a lot of people. I know a girl. Her name is Candace. Shout out to Candace. She is a food critic, and she makes like videos just tasting different foods. And she actually reached out to, I believe, a travel company, and she reached out to them. They did not reach out to her or anything like that. I don't know if they're even aware of her. She just reached out to them, and with her media kit, and sent an email, and they responded back, and she was able to not only get a a deal to where she got paid, but she also got a deal to where she is now getting flown out to 5 or 7 different countries to taste foods, and they're paying her, and they're paying for her expenses just for her reaching out with her media kit. So reaching out is still that you don't have to just wait. You could reach out to brands too with your stuff.
Do you think that it's beneficial to
No, you're good. You're good. You can ask this.
to benefit? Do you think that it's beneficial to wait until your content is up to par to reach out, or would you reach out early when y'all really got it?
I would be mindful. It's kind of like one of those things like, would you apply to a job if you feel like you were able to contribute to that job, or would you just kind of just try it out? It's kind of like a personal, you would have to like look at your own stuff and be like, okay, I feel like, but don't psych yourself out into thinking it has to be a certain way. Just get to a point where you feel like you like it enough, and then reach out to it. If you feel like, you know, someone else would appreciate this content, then I would say do it. So honestly, I would still do it just because you don't know if a brand will like it. But I would also just be mindful of the fact that like, if you also feel like you wouldn't apply for a job if you weren't comfortable at the time, like, since I was just doing it, and like I wasn't like really, I was completely unfamiliar with everything I'm talking about right now. Like, I was just doing it. I would literally just wake up in the morning. I was recording a lot of my shoots before, and I just would just make little random videos with it. I never really did anything with the videos. So I just started to just like, I made one video because someone commented under a TikTok of mine, was like, can you give some tips for college like photography majors? And I just made like a video basically talking about what, like, just a couple of tips that kind of helped me bring my images to a better quality using like a starter kit lens and camera. And that video was the video that for me that like blew up. And I realized there was a lot of people out there that wanted to learn about just getting into photography. I was super scared to like make videos on talking about like teaching anything to do with photography, because me myself, I'm still learning. And that's one thing, doesn't matter where you are at in your career, you're always a student. Like, there is always so much more to learn. Like, the moment you feel like you have nothing left to learn is the moment you're gonna peak, because you're not gonna be able to go past that point. It's a mental game really, more than just what you're shooting in front of you, the cameras you got and all that, the clients you're working with. It doesn't matter. If you feel like you already know it all, then there's nothing left for you to know and learn about. And from then on, you'll just plateau right there. If you're comfortable with that, that's fine. But you know.
So would you say your workflow is still like that when it comes to?
Now because it's like sometimes I could just kind of wake up and I could just create a quick video, and I want to like something I know that I'm comfortable talking about, and I have like just footage, like stock footage, just ready to kind of put over it, and I just want to talk about the topic. Yeah, I could do that. But now, creating a schedule with like that diagram I showed earlier, that is really how I'll just kind of like, what I recommend doing is stocking up. If you just do that, if you were to complete like those 18 videos, if you were to post that, that's like about 2.5 weeks worth of content. If you were to post one video a day, within those 2 weeks, you could shoot new content and pretty much redo that, and you'll be like 2 weeks ahead of the game, because you'll already have like those videos laid out, and it'll be different. So wait, hold on, I got him right quick. Got you.
I was just gonna go off of your point. Do you
Mhm.
have like any advice when it comes to like, because being consistent is key. Do you
Mhm.
have advice when it comes to like just stockpiling that footage in order to be consistent?
I would wait. Like, I would just kind of like, if you're in a stagnated period where you're not posting as much, I would just kind of, I would just kind of like take your time to create the content, stock up on that. Just like, you don't gotta feel too pressured to just go straight into posting. The way that I was doing it was like, like I said, I just kind of woke up and I would just make the videos on that day, and I would post it that day. Now, even though I made that work, it was stressful, because I would literally just be making the videos and posting it that day, kind of like trying to research topics in a better way to where I could explain it, because like the way that I would try to do it is, a lot of people know the terminologies, for example, like ISO and aperture and shutter speed, but some people don't even know what that means at all. Like, so I had to figure out a way to kind of take the terminologies that people kind of feel is scary, like kind of drives them away from trying photography because like, oh, that's too hard. I don't want to know about all that, and kind of break it down in a way where it's like literally I could say this to someone who is literally has no experience in touching the camera and kind of figuring out like that. So I would just kind of sit on it, take your time away and kind of just create that content to where you kind of feel comfortable to where you could post for the next 30 days. Like that diagram is really a good way because you could literally use that flow over and over and over and it'll work because if you kind of create, since it's 3 subtopics and then 6 topics within each subtopic, if you were to post like one of those topics every week, like if you were to just kind of change it and then like create your own schedule where it's like, okay, I want to post a step-by-step and then I want to post an entertaining like kind of trending reel. I want to post a quick tip. I want to post common questions, like common mistakes and things like that. Like if you were to kind of post one of those videos every day and then rotate that with like that could be like for one, let's say like you were to do like common mistakes, common questions, industry myths, and step by step, and then a quick tip. If you were to post one of those topics every day for just one of your subcategories for that first week of the month, then the next week you go to another subcategory and you do the same type of thing just within that other subcategory. So it could be like, you know, you just kind of rotate it and you can change the order you want to do it if you want, or, you know, you kind of just flow from there and it'll always feel different because it's like, even though you're talking about even though you're posting the same thing, you're talking about different things. And some people kind of like actually most people like the consistency of it. Not a lot of people, some people, you know, you got your select few that like seeing completely different stuff every day, but realistically, like people like some sort of consistency within that page. That's why people like really tend to actually follow and pay attention to a creator. Like even if they're posting totally different creativity, like there's some form of consistency within their style that they like. What's up?
Do you think it affects the algorithm if you personally post versus scheduling the post?
No, it doesn't. Honestly, understanding when to post is gonna be at your benefit. The algorithm doesn't care. Like the algorithm will only care about when you post in terms of like how, like what time is most active for like the majority of people and your followers. But I would pay attention to like your followers because how your followers engage and respond within the first hour or so of that post is going to determine if the algorithm is going to push it out to people who haven't seen your stuff before or just more of your followers. Because the first hour, they only show like about 10% of your followers that post. So like if you're wondering like why like you might have a bunch of followers but not a bunch of people are tuning into your stuff, it's because the algorithm only shows a very small percentage of your followers that post within the first hour. And depending on how they react to it, depends on if it's going to show the rest of your followers that content. And that could depend on the time you post. Sometimes I've posted videos where I posted at like 2, 3 p.m. and then I took it down and I posted it at 5 and it blew up. Like it just didn't, like it was, sometimes it was just like a timing issue. Sometimes it could be the content. Sometimes it's just the algorithm just not messing with you that day. But if you know that video is good, I feel like almost any video that has some sort of any type of substance, meaning someone could take something away from it, whether it's a literal tip or just they like the inspiration or whether they made them feel something. Like if someone could just take away something from it, it has the potential to blow up. It just needs some type of substance. But sometimes you really do gotta just try and try and try and try again. That's where that consistency comes into play. Any other questions? Okay. So I want to hop into the mood board real quick. So this mood board right here is actually a mood board that Adobe literally sent to me. This is like a legitimate mood board that they look for when it comes to content. Adobe is a huge company, And if they're looking for stuff like this, I promise you, plenty of other brands are looking for stuff like this. They sent me this as a reference. They sent me, this is actually their example reference that they sent to me, but they also sent me like a blank copy to pretty much fill in my own and make it my own thing on what I was gonna say, what I was gonna do, and things of that nature, filling in with my own pictures and stuff. But this is something that they kind of want to look for when it comes to like what they kind of want implemented in their videos, kind of the style of their videos. This goes into like brand work, but you could also implement this into just daily content, because this style of content that they do have up on here, I have watched quite a lot, and it does just do well algorithmically as well, just in general. There's also, if you can click to the next one, there's another one. This is like kind of like your text layout. Once again, Adobe, this is also straight from them. And this is kind of like how they would prefer their text layouts to be. You obviously don't have to do it exactly like this, but it gives you a general idea of like kind of what is pleasing to the general audience, because those brands have literal professionals studying the algorithm, what works for them, what hasn't worked in the past. They are constantly watching the algorithm. But the thing is, they also would rather have the creators, which are us, just make our own style of content appealing to our own everyday, daily people who want to learn from us, watch us, or see what we do. They rather just kind of let us do our own thing and just pay us for that. But they're, once again, remember that they're going to try to downplay you. You know what I'm saying? So that's when it goes back to just knowing your worth and trying to study what the ranges are based on like what level of influence you are, but also on the quality that you're giving them. Because there were some deals where like I had to do quite a lot for not as much, and then when they came back around, I was able to negotiate because of the quality, not because I grew as a creator. I was in the same like position as a creator, so I didn't go from like micro to macro or like mid-tier to mega or something like that. The difference on why I was able to like negotiate a better deal was because of the consistent quality I was giving them. Sometimes that could be the camera that you shoot on. Sometimes that could be the information that you're dishing out. Sometimes it could be just your aesthetic and your style of the video. You know, it could be a variation of different things, but the more important thing is like making sure that whoever, just the one person that's watching your video is gonna walk away after scrolling ahead, they took something from that. So that's why it goes important back to like the 3 E's and like, what do you want them to take from it? Like something educational, something emotional, or something entertaining. Like, do you want them to laugh? Do you want them to be like, damn, that was actually like really moving? Or do you like, oh, I actually learned something by watching that? Like, you kind of have to think about that when you make your videos. So wait, any questions with that real quick before I move on to the next little lesson? All right. So this is kind of like the last thing I want to kind of like tie everything together is mental health. With mental health and creating content and just surrendering your art to the world is something that you are really going to have to be aware that you are opening yourself up to opinions. Like, you are opening your heart, your soul, your creativity, your vulnerability to people to have any type of opinion about you and what you're doing. That's why you really have to, for me, you're gonna always see things that you don't wanna see. I've gotten plenty of hate comments, man. It's just part of the world. It's just freedom of speech, especially on the internet. Anyone could say anything. It's just something that you're gonna have to see. Now, if you're gonna if you're gonna respond, that's cool. But if you're gonna respond, make sure 2 things. One, it has to be a part of your brand. A good way to like use as an example is like Tyler the Creator or like Eminem. Like when they say things, like nobody really like looks at them like, oh, why would they just say that? It's part of their character. Like people know that like Tyler's gonna say something off the wall because that's just him being him. Now, if you're someone that's like that never really says anything and then you have a moment, everyone's gonna say something about it for sure. Yeah, like Will Smith, because we're all used to Will Smith being like mad chill, mad nice, a polite individual. So when he had his moment, it was the biggest moment like for him. It kind of like made everyone look at him so different. But versus if like Tyler the Creator did something like that, it'd just be like, that's just Tyler being Tyler or some shit like that. Like people wouldn't really look at it like so in depth of like that was so out of character. So be mindful of that, and also be mindful of like just the image that you want to portray, because one thing is people are always gonna say that you change, but change is a part of life. Like you have to change, you have to evolve, especially if you're trying to grow as a person, as a creator, as an artist. It doesn't matter. You have to change, you have to adapt. So you cannot let these comments just change your perspective on who you are. Be mindful of who you're trying to be, and be mindful how you want people to see you. If you want people to see you as a respectful individual, cool. If you want people to see you as a disrespectful artist, cool. Like it's just kind of one of those things where you have to be mindful of that and make sure that you're actually aware of that, because that self-awareness is going to directly lead into your branding when it comes to brands, your individual clients, and anyone else who's just watching you from the outside perspective. They're all paying attention to those things. So it's just really important that you're mindful of those things. And with opening up your vulnerability to the world and being prone to like having hate comments, like it can kind of warp your perspective on what I call like the curve. So every single career, whether it's artistic, business, doesn't matter, there is a curve. There's an increase, there's an incline, there's a peak, and then there's a decline. It happens to everybody. What really makes a person successful is knowing when to hop off the decline onto another curve. Now, I don't know if y'all are super familiar with Charles Darwin, the scientist, and all that, but he is a prominent name in science. He quite literally is being studied in schools. He's a national hero. He got buried in like a very honorable place and all these things. Like he is a very, very prominent name, a very successful person with a very successful career. He has a quite literal imprint stamp on history. To him, he was a failure. To him, he viewed himself as that he had a failed career. And the reason why was because he was so fixated on making another big break that he had done before. He didn't know when to let go of that and to venture off into something else. Like I said, everyone has a decline, and when you're on that decline, when you're in that period of stagnation and you're trying to replicate what once brought you there, you're going to spiral, because that decline is something that you can't stop. You could postpone it. We could use Drake as an example. Drake has been around for forever, and to us, we think that Drake is steadily on his incline, but realistically, he's going out. He's just going out so slow, and he's still putting out bangers. But it's like, you know what I'm saying? But really, he is going like, it's not to like the peak of what it was, but because of social media, because of like TikTok and trends and like streaming, it's like it's hard to really notice that, but it happens to everybody. And you can only postpone that decline, but successful people know when to hop off of that and jump onto a new venture. So there is a composer, I forgot his name specifically, but there was a German composer who once got famous for creating very, very famous sheet music. And he was in a peak of his career. He went up. What's up, real quick? No, it wasn't Mozart. I forgot his name specifically. I'm gonna try to remember that. And if anyone wants to know, I will come up. I'll research that real quick, and I'll tell you. But he first got his recognition and his spot in music by being a sheet music writer. He wrote a bunch of sheet music that was very, very popular around the world. He then started to go on his decline, but instead of trying to chase what made him who he was, which was the sheet music, he instead became a composer. He became a composer and literally out here doing all of this instead of doing all of this. He changed his whole aspect of that and became even more famous by being a composer than being writing sheet music. Knowing, you said what, like Kanye? Yeah, like when going from a producer to a rapper, like it's still implementing that part of your career, but going from like just making beats and making like, you know, a sonically gifted person to actually implementing his own words, his own character into that, into propelling his career. That's a great example right there. And knowing when to hop that curve is really what's gonna keep that longevity of your career going. So you don't want to be too wrapped up and too fixated on trying to just continue to replicate what made you kind of blow up. You kind of want to always be prone to adapt to change and understand that things are going to change over time. The algorithm changes, social media changes. I mean, TikTok used to be musically, and that was a whole different type of platform. So now, the fact that it went from musically to like where it is now, and then now it's turning into a search engine platform, and now it's going to be 30-minute videos. It's basically turning into YouTube now slowly. So it's just like it's just crazy how that changes. And if you as a creative and an artist and a creator don't change with it, it's gonna be hard for you to kind of like continue the longevity of your career. Because everybody wants to do what they love, but there's different ways to do it. Like you could be an instructor, like how I'm trying to do, and kind of like show my process of things, or you could just be like if I wanted to like go into photography, just being a portrait photographer, I could hop into landscape or urban or wildlife, something like that. If I just wanted to stay into photography and I wanted to find ways to keep myself re-inspired, I could do it like that. Unless, even just with portrait photography, you can go into runway, high fashion, you could go into abstract, you can go into conceptual. Like there's different even variants of that. It's not just about, following the one thing that made you who you are. You should 100% be prone to change. That adaptability is a talent that will surpass anyone else that's in the game. Like, if you have that power to adapt and that self awareness to know when to change, you're going to be around for a very, very long time. What's up? Oh, got you. Yeah. So, just being open to people having an opinion about you is gonna happen. Like, don't let it discourage you. Always be yourself no matter what. That's what's something that no one else will ever be able to replicate or replace. Like, also, when you get to that point where people are trying to replace you, understand that that's what's going to happen. In the industry, everyone's replaceable, but no one's going to do it like you. You got to remember that. Don't let, a job opportunity slip, make you feel like you're not good enough. No, you fine. Like, you definitely that person, but you have to be humble enough to know that these brands, these corporations, they're huge. They've been around for freaking years. If they could drop Kanye, they could drop people, but who's gonna do it like Kanye? Like, no one's gonna do it like him. They could find people, that could do something that might help them, but no one's gonna do it like him. And as an artist, you have to stand on that because your art is who you are. It's a representation, an extension of yourself. So you shouldn't really be, you shouldn't let anybody else kind of give you your worth. So you should be able to identify that. And that goes into just your mental health. Like, that goes into understanding that keeping your mentality uplifted and positive, even if it's a whole lot of chaos going around, that's what's really going to help you propel and just never really have that peaking moment. And even when you start to feel hot, you got to keep the same type of perspective on yourself so you never lose that hunger that got you there. You don't want to lose that because that's when you're just going to be like, oh, I'm already here. I've seen you, like, for example, what about like Fetty Wap, bruh? Fetty Wap at one point was taking over, bruh, and now he's just chilling. And it's not like he fell off. He just stopped really making music for real because he felt like he got everything he wanted. Yeah, you say again? Yeah, Roddy Rich, like, you know what I'm saying? There's so many artists who just kind of stopped because they just felt like they got everything that they wanted and that was it. They lost that hunger that got them there. Oh, man, what was his name? I don't know. But I know exactly. Do you know his name? Don't know. I don't know. But nah, but yeah, you just don't wanna lose that hunger that, that got you there. That's really, really important. Make sure that you just keep the same perspective. Doesn't matter what level you are in your career, you're always a student. There's always more to learn. There's always more to be taught and to research. There's people who've been doing it longer than you, before you. They've done things that we've never even seen before. It's really good to look at that past to help adapt that into your new creations. So yeah, is there anything that y'all want to talk about? What's up?
I have a question for you and everybody in here.
Okay.
What is something that y'all do when you feel
want to answer first, my boy?
Yeah, low key. I would say I'm like when I get anxious about like worrying about like what's next or what I could be doing. Sometimes I have to like disconnect. 'Cause I feel like we're in an age of like everything's so instant, everything's so the instant gratification and just constant content and this, that, and the third, and it's so easy to compare yourself. Some of the best advice I've gotten since I've been in college is like comparison is the killer of joy. So when you're comparing yourselves, like, oh, I got what 5,000 followers right now. I need to get to 10,000 because X, Y, and Z got this amount of followers, and or I need to do this in my craft to get somewhere because somebody else has what. It's draining, and I think sometimes you have to pull yourself out of the equation to remember your why, so that your purpose is driven solely by you and not trying to be somebody else.
What up? Right.
Definitely been there before. I would recommend like going back and looking at what you've already done, because I know like a lot of the times I move so fast that when I'm not doing something to the T, like to how I think it should be done, I get discouraged or I like want to just stop or quit or something. So I take days, like 2 days out the month, to just look at old short films or old podcasts or old photography that I've done and just be like, okay, the fact that I'm even, you know what I'm saying? I've come a long way, you know what I'm saying? I ain't gonna stop here, so gotta keep going.
All right.
I think just learning how to embrace where you are in that moment, because I'm in my 30s now. So the time where I start my peak, my college time, I was where y'all were. So now I stepped out and getting back into it. It's not the same. It's completely different. And it's easy for me to compare myself to everybody else, but I'm just like, I'm not on that same wave as everybody else. So my thought process, my drive, my whatever I do is completely different from when I was in college. So like now I'm more, I want to say intentional in a sense.
Yeah.
But I also learned to take time for myself as well, and not always ripping and running, and just embrace this time, this moment, because where you are is for a reason.
Right.
So just embrace it, take time, step back, reconnect, and then you had a little boost again. That's really it.
That's dope.
Oh yeah, I was definitely gonna say that. What gives me that boost that she was talking about is when I get in a certain mood, I make sure that I always do something that's for me. Like fuck the trends, fuck what people like say they like. Like if you have a certain type of photography, like you like taking pictures of nature, like that's something that just brings you back, but it doesn't do good. Go out to a creek and just do it. Do something specifically for you. Don't even think about what kind of content can I get out of it. Do it for you. Now, if you like it and you think it could make content, like post it, but don't do it for Instagram. Do it because that's something that you just want to get back to.
I love that. I know she had a question all the way in the back. Or she had an answer. My bad.
So mine goes off what he said right here in the hat. Hey, I have literally an album in my phone of like all the work that I've done from like day one. So literally like from me buying my camera to something I just did 2 days ago. And I have screenshots of people telling me like, oh, this is a good job. My friends just hyping me up, even if they didn't book, just saying like, oh, T, like this is good. Like I see you like going up. It's a whole album from like me buying my camera, BTS, maybe some filler content I might do just so I know like where I've been at and like how far I've came. Even like me coming to the studio, I've came to night school, I've came to different events, and I've met different people. I met this girl over here at Yesterday Tomorrow. Hey girl. But like stuff like that, like it might seem like, oh, like I'm getting big in the moment, but like I will have imposter syndrome. I will be like, damn, like I ain't doing shit. And I have to go back and be like, wait, but I did this, and this just this month alone. Like I'm tripping. So I just keep like basically a reminder in my phone. And the name of the album is called Keep Going T. So like
That's
have me
fire.
yeah.
That's super
it.
dope.
Did you have something?
Right. I need to do some shit like that. That's fire.
I would say something that helps me is really like a big thing I do is watching like documentaries or just like other people's journeys. Like how I said Kanye earlier, like I was not a Kanye fan. Like I really didn't know a lot about him until his documentary came out. And it was like, that thing had me on like a inspiration high for like 2 weeks. No
Right.
lie.
No, same here. Same here.
So it was just like, okay, I see how much that boosted me. Like, what else can I do when I'm feeling low or feeling like I'm not doing enough? So like, even all that hope core and stuff like that is corny, but it really does like really make a difference for me. So that's what I do.
I think my own perspective is have a pet talk with yourself. Like remind yourself like you're your own best friend. At the end of the day, you came in this world just you and yourself. You're gonna be in the casket by yourself. So it's really your opinion that matters. So really, if you're feeling down or whatever, discouraged, tell yourself like you like that, because nobody else can be you. You could be cloned, and that clone would not be you. You feel me? So that piece of originality, that own flavor that you bring to the world, somebody else out there gonna eat that flavor, whatever you serving. So keep that in mind. Like you ain't the only one that feel what you feel. Like you probably feel discouraged, but somebody else out there feel discouraged. You feel like you popping, but somebody else out there feel like they popping. You feel me? So like, tell yourself like you bring a special substance to the world. Like you matter. So once you tell yourself that, you like, okay, I do matter. Okay, I do bring this. I can do this. I can do this better than anybody. And now that's the half the battle. So now you just gotta go do it. You feel me? So I got you.
I'd definitely say I've gone through it a lot, to be honest, that feeling. I'm still fairly new in the game. And so, comparison is like, that's that's one of the biggest things that I struggle with right now is because I know that there's, especially being in the AUC, and being in Atlanta in general, like it's such a creative place, and knowing like there's no limit on creativity at all, and just seeing the various aspects like day to day on the campus that I walk on, it's like, why I'm not doing that? Why I'm not getting these opportunities, or why can't I make that type of thing? And so I think one of the things that has helped me over time is I'm very family oriented. So like I just subtract myself from my work and I tap back in with what makes me happy, being around my family. And I think that once you tap back in with your humanity, and sometimes be so driven by our titles. And so I'm a creative, I'm a photographer, I'm a videographer, I'm a model, like sometimes pull that back sometimes, go back to I'm Jordan, I'm me first, what makes me happy. And then when I go back into it, I get that little boost of energy again. But also just remembering that, you have the opportunity to ask questions. And I think I don't take that opportunity that often, but, being around an environment like this, even taking advantage of like night school and just walking around the streets of Atlanta sometimes, and you can run into other creatives. Like, I make sure I always ask one question before I leave. You can always walk away with something. So, yeah.
That's awesome. I mean, does anyone else want to have something to add? Y'all cool? Y'all cool? Cool. All right. Well, of course. Aw, that's so sweet. Does someone have a? Oh, I got you. And I'll answer your question real quick. Bet.
Side note, I want to appreciate everybody like at Camp Kirk for setting this up. We appreciate y'all for real. Like, yeah. We wouldn't be here if it weren't for y'all. You feel me? So y'all inspire a lot of us. So we appreciate setting this up. And to you, Ellie. Hello.
Hello.
How you doing, buddy?
I'm great.
I'm great too.
here's your
Glad to
pen.
hear it. What was that one moment for you that one, you will not only never forget, and two, you look back upon, it gives you happiness, and three, you felt was truly life-changing?
It was probably the first picture that I ever took that I was like, this is a good picture.
Really? What was the
And
photo?
It was a photo of a rose in my mom's garden. And I was so happy with how it came out. And the feeling that I got from that was probably the most irreplaceable feeling on the planet, just because it was just like a really a moment for myself. I guess that was, I guess from the scheme of it, felt insignificant, but it was so important to me that it was just like the joy that I got from that moment literally started everything. From that one picture, that same day, I decided to walk around my neighborhood and just take pictures of flowers, trees, natures, whatever. I was just like, you know what, I'm gonna just have fun and just take pictures with my phone. And that moment was definitely the moment I'll never ever forget.
Thank you.
Of course. Thank y'all. Everybody here is amazing. I love every single one of y'all for coming out here just to listen to me. I'm so inspired just to hear every single one of y'all perspectives, y'all stories. It was genuinely life-changing for me. I'm gonna take so much away from all of y'all. Appreciate y'all. I hope I provided something for y'all to take home with you. Man, so that's all I ever wanted to do for any of y'all. So appreciate y'all.